healing crystals, skincare routines, knitting a sweater, fitting in jeans. With Katie and Sarah, no need to worry, you're on a lady journey.
Hello and welcome.
Welcome.
We weren't just talking
journey.
about something. We weren't just talking about a close friend.
No. I like
Never.
I love that. Feels very Lady Journey to start the show as if they walked in on our private.
Oh,
hi.
Hello.
Hi. We were just saying
here
how
we
good
go.
you look.
Yeah, you look amazing. Oh my God,
We were
we're
just saying
mean
how
girls.
much. Yeah,
mean
we
ladies.
love your top.
So I was at Skankfest this weekend.
Right.
And so Skankfest, if you don't know, it is, first of all, I think it's a great festival. And
I do too.
Yeah.
I think a lot of in the first few years, a lot of comics. There was a certain group of comics that were looked down upon it. And I was like, I don't think you actually have ever been. And I don't think you know exactly what it is.
It's got a lot of comedy fans. It does have, I will say, it's kind of in a festival sense, maybe like an alternative sort of people go to it. Like it's almost, I would call it like pro wrestling meets comedy of comedy festival.
I've always thought it feels like the Comic-Con of stand-ups.
That's a great comp. Yeah. And
because it's like, they're going there to hang out with their favorite comics where they get to hang out with the comics.
Yes, and it's very cool in a way. And there are a lot of really good comics. Dave Attell was there this year. Rachel Feinstein, former Lady Journey guest.
Yes.
Love her special. She was there. Rich and Bonnie were there. Maddie Smith, although we have not had her on Lady Journey. I was there. Ronan was there. Joe was there.
Luke Monas,
who's so funny, and I love him.
Brendan Sagalow, Mike Feeney, Mike Cannon.
Ashley Gavin was there.
Annie Letterman.
It's really just like Corinne and Christina.
A celebration of comedy.
Yeah, and it was...
And anyone is welcome. It's never been... They're always welcoming.
Yeah. And this is one thing I will say.
That's why I like it.
I like it too. And it does have also this reputation as being like a big party festival where you can like do drugs and party and like stay up late and have fun. But I will say I went fully sober at the festival this year. And I felt like they did a really awesome job of like holding space for people that were making that choice.
Yes.
Because
sometimes you're like, I don't want to do Molly every day.
Exactly.
Also, I'm always like, with people doing Molly, I'm like, how are you not taking 2 days off afterwards with depression?
There's no way that I could have done. Well, first of all, it's like I took an early morning flight there. I took a red eye back. Like,
and it's a weekend, a
if
Thursday
I did any type of stuff like that, I'm not functioning.
Right.
And this is a great example of me going into my journey of I'm going into soft sobriety, which is not a technical term.
No.
It's not a technical term, but it's I think it's a term that I came up with, to be honest. But I've been kind of
what did you call it? Birthday structure?
Birthday architecture. Yeah. Yeah. It's in that world of concepts I've come up with in my mind. Well, I've been like really, and I was thinking about this weekend because I've like been in a zone of like reevaluating my relationship to drugs and alcohol, especially since I've been on Zoloft.
Right.
And I used to do like edibles all the time, and I've completely stopped cold turkey with the edibles. And I still have a drink like every now and then. But when I was thinking so much about this when I was at Skankfest because there's a lot of, people partying. There's people having fun. There's an open bar.
It's 40-year-olds doing blow sometimes. And I'm like, you can't.
I'm like, you guys are going to die. You guys are going to die. Well, and even like, I'm the type of person historically in my life, I've not done well around an open bar setting.
Right. Open
bar for me.
I have to do math in my head of me like...
Yeah.
To pace myself.
Yeah.
And I don't like drinking that way.
No, I don't either. And also, I was staying in the casino, the Golden Nugget, thank you. Staying in the Nug, as I call it. And I woke up the first day after I was there, and because they have intense air conditioning there, because it was like 105 degrees, I had like really bad congestion. And I had that
hot and cold.
Yeah. And I had that all day. And I was thinking like, I saw Katie Boyle, another former Lady Journeyer. I saw saw her there and she was like, oh, tomorrow, like, we'll get a drink. And I was like, oh, yeah, that's fun. But as I was there, it was like 10 p.m. at night, which is in Vegas. That's 1 here. I was like, I don't really feel like having a drink. And I hate
and it's
drinking.
so much socialization all throughout the day that you're like, feel like at that time, I'm like, I'm ready to go to my hotel room and watch a TV show.
Yeah. Well, I actually hung out sober for like late into the night. And I was thinking about like, there's been so many times where I've been in that scenario and haven't really felt like drinking, but have done it anyway, because I kind of somewhere in my mind feel like I have to.
It's like a when in Rome.
When in Rome, totally. Like, oh, everyone's having a drink and I want to hang out. So I guess I should have a drink too, or I should do an edible, or I should like take a mushroom or eat a cap. But I didn't. And I felt so good, actually, where I was like chatting with people, and I like chatting. I like being sober around other comedians because I feel like I can connect with them better.
And you're never going to go back and be like, did I trauma dump? Did I never have like an embarrassing feeling the next day of being inappropriate.
Or like, what? Did I have to get the 911 called on me?
Did I prank them, but I just sexually assaulted them?
Yeah.
Or ruined their property and thought it was funny?
Yes, like coming to with like the cringe flashbacks of like, how was I being perceived? It was so nice to just feel like in control of myself, and also in control of myself socially, where I'm like, treating this like not necessarily like I'm with friends, but not necessarily like I'm at a work party, something in between, where it's like I'm enjoying like being kind and like spreading good energy.
Yes.
But also like taking care of myself in case of like if I'm talking to somebody who's like starting being like weird, I'm like, I'm gone. I'm not feeling trapped by that.
We've been in a room in Skankfest where
We've been there together.
Where I'm like, I'm not equipped for this
I don't have a professional psychology degree.
I don't know you, and this is a lot of information.
A lot
of. I'm like, dude, I'm just trying to have fun. I'm just trying to talk shit in a fun way, in a comedic way,
and
I'm not here to solve what's going on with you.
Right? You're like, I'm sorry. Are you seeking counseling right now from me? And there was actually a lot of sober people there, which was so awesome, because I was just like, there's something I do get like a little FOMO of like, you get ripped and then you're with the other person who's ripped and you're like, you're having fun and you're like hugging and you have like a bond, but it's like, it's just never worth it to me anymore. And also it's
really
like
a bond later.
No, it's not. And then it's like you see them again and you're like, remember when we were like crying? And they're like, who are you?
Yeah.
But I was thinking, I was like, no, I'm not having FOMO, because I was bonding with like the other people who were sober, which I'm not. But, I was like going and sitting with Joe. We sat with like around with other people that, Karen Feehan, we didn't mention her. She's a lady junior.
Right.
And she's, I think, California sober. But like sitting with those people and having a good time riffing and having that be like the fun thing instead of getting fucked up. And I was like, I'm so glad I didn't drink when I didn't want to, because...
Well, you're missing out on those moments. Mainly when you're drinking, I feel like you're at a bar yelling over a certain decibel level.
Yeah.
And then you can't hear what that person's saying. I don't know.
You're
not
kind
enjoyable
of out of it. Yeah, it kind of takes you out of it, and to the point that when I'm drinking and I'm in a social situation with people that I don't know because of my social anxiety, it's actually making it harder for me to connect with people.
Yes.
And so my whole thing of like soft sobriety is...
So what is soft sobriety to Katie?
To me, it's more just taking a look at my relationship to drugs and alcohol. Like, I was doing the edibles forever, and there was like weekends where I would just spend a full weekend completely dousing myself in like a haze of pot smoke.
Right.
Just to kind of like, I was dependent on it to relax. And there's been times where like...
I can rebrand it. Yeah, I did in the past, being like, I'm just doing weed.
Yeah,
I'm in the home. This is fun. But then you're like, but then you can rebrand it like, I'm doing drugs And
I'm doing drugs
in a studio
alone.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
with the bed on the floor.
I'm doing drugs alone. I'm not crafting right now. I'm afraid to leave my home. I won't reach out to my friends. I'm isolated. And like, I think I was talking with my therapist about this, and she was saying, like, you know, when you get a dependence, you become delusional because you want to keep allowing it. And I think I'm at the point in, you know, I had really problematic like substance abuse behavior. Not that I had have rock bottoms, but I never quit from it. So it's like, well, was it a rock bottom? When I went to the hospital, in Los Angeles, because the bar thought that I had been roofied, but I was just drinking to that level, knocking over someone's Jenga game because I thought, how could that not be perceived as hilarious?
Oh my
Waking
God.
up with a catheter and no shoes.
When was this?
This was in 2010. This was in 2010.
That's like pretty long ago.
Long time ago. I had been problematic drinking before then, and I was actually in like a recovery counseling. I wasn't in AA. I probably should have been, but I didn't know.
It's so interesting. There's several people in my life that tell me these, and I'm like, I never would have seen this.
Yeah,
I did not know.
I had a pretty problematic relationship with alcohol. I had gone sober for about 2 months, and then
those were the
this
stories
happened.
that I was having.
Yeah,
and I did the same thing in LA, but it wasn't Jenga. I think I spilled a whole pitcher of beer on an air hockey table.
Oh my God.
Where I think I got asked to leave.
Yeah, and you're like, but why? I'm the fun person.
I think it was Barney's Beanery, which was like a hot spot.
Barney's Beanery.
Yeah.
God, that's hilarious.
But yeah, very similar to a Jenga.
Yeah. So it's like, it's so funny to me. It's like, instead of me having a rock bottom and getting an AA, I've just been slowly.
Because that's not like a rock bottom and I've kind of joked about this in the past. Like, I never had rock bottoms where like I killed a family of 4.
Yeah.
I spilled wine on my friend's computer.
Yeah.
That was a $2,000. And then I did help her pay for it. And I still am amends for this. Like, I still was like, when I paid for it, and I remember being like, you should probably get it insured.
Yeah.
As if it's her problem.
You should probably get it insured because you know me.
When it
the
really,
old
like,
liability.
Where you're like, what an asshole statement to say.
Yeah. I stopped drinking a lot after that time, but I just transferred my addictive behavior to pot.
Yeah.
And you don't really have a rock bottom with pot. I think it's like, what's my rock bottom there, where I just like didn't have friendships because I felt like I couldn't leave my apartment on Saturdays for like 4 or 5 years.
I find people that have like an extreme addiction to pot that way, that are isolating, they'll never, because I always feel like pot doesn't get the branding that alcohol gets.
Yeah, it's like, yeah.
But you're like,
right,
maybe that's why you're depressed. Like, I had a friend that was like, God, how do you remember everything from high school? And I was like, Erin, you smoked weed every day. You started your day that way.
Yeah. Yeah. And then it's like, oh, that's not a rock bottom. Then you're like, it's funny. Yeah, like one time I went in a video store and we were looking for the video that we had. Yeah. Like, that's a weed rock bottom where it's like, yeah, maybe you shouldn't be like using a bong.
Yeah.
Like, I think like the whole societal relationship with marijuana is super problematic because there are people that smoke all the time that'll be like, weed's not addictive. Weed's not. It's like, yeah, well, it's not crack.
Yes.
But you can still get a dependence on it where it's impacting your life. And it's like, yeah, like, you know, it's like, I'm thinking of Half Baked, you know, they're like, you ever suck dick for weed, man? It's like, no, I didn't. But like, I dated. Actually, I kind of did because I dated some really awful people.
Or you're like, no, I never sucked dick, but I have bored the death out of my friends that they've eventually all left me because all I did was watch Law and Order for 9 hours straight.
I watched a documentary.
Or just quote The Simpsons to them every day.
I watched a documentary about the airline industry called City in the Sky that was like 5 hours long. And I thought it was the most interesting thing ever. And it's like, no, that's just what happens to the luggage. Like when they put it on the plane, it's like, that should be a rock bottom. That should be a rock bottom. It should also be a rock bottom for whoever made that because, come on, who is this for? But so I haven't done edibles since New Year's last year, and I haven't had any pot. This is the longest I've ever gone in my life without smoking pot since I started smoking when I was 15 years old.
Have you noticed any changes in your life?
Huge.
Okay.
Huge changes. I've noticed huge changes in my life just in terms of the fact that, number one, I now have better perspective about the fact that, like, a lot of times when I don't like saying get high because that's what people that do opioids say, but like it's the best way of saying, you know, using marijuana edibles or something.
Yeah.
But like there would be times when I would do it I had a dependence on it to check myself out of being like stressed out. And so sometimes I would do it, and instead of being less stressed out, I would be more stressed out and then just caught in kind of like a chaos, you know, and just feeling worse. But that never deterred me from doing it more.
Oh, yeah. You just push through
Pushing through it, yeah.
Because that's what I always felt like with drinking, is it is a level of insanity, because I would keep drinking thinking that the results would be different. Meaning, like, I will only drink on the weekend.
Right.
Or, oh, you know what? It's just wine.
Just a little wine, yeah.
People in Sicily or Sardinia drink wine all the time, and they live to 100.
Yeah, and they're thin.
Yeah, I would trick myself being like, this is what healthy people do. Meanwhile, spilling bottles on people's computers and then not recalling myself doing it, but being like, that checks out though. I was at your computer with wine and hours that you...
I have a slippery grip. When I drink wine, I get a little slippery in the wrist. Yeah, I don't think that I need to go sober, like full cold turkey, because I don't know, maybe I do actually. This is what I'm kind of looking into, because I really enjoy, you know, alcohol. Drinking heavily, I feel like adds nothing to my life, and I still will try to do it. Like I'll try to like make Mike take me out on a date just because I want to have like a couple glasses of wine. Yeah. You know, and 2 glasses of wine is really too much for me.
Right. Well, it's half a bottle.
So it's like I'm kind of at the point now where I'm like, if I am in a situation where like a dinner or something, and I'm with another person or I'm with Mike, I'll have like 1 glass of wine, and then like that's it. Right. And it's like, you know, my therapist was like putting these parameters and putting these plans on things.
Now, is it painful when you do 1 glass? Like, is there still the obsession?
This is what I'm figuring out. It hasn't been so far, but I think that one of the big things is like I have to do other coping. I have to put effort into the other coping mechanisms with stress. It's like I have to work out. I have to make sure I'm eating healthy. I have to do all these other things that help me manage stress. So I'm not going to the wine as like, I need to de-stress with wine.
Gotcha.
But so I don't know, but I do feel like, because I'm really busy right now, I've been traveling, I'm doing this film, you know, maybe this is a time to be like, you know, during the pandemic, I did go about 2 months with doing no substance, and it's like my mood feels better overall.
Does Mike notice?
Mike notices. I think Mike's noticed, like, in the past year, my mental health has gotten much better than it was like a year ago. I think I really probably did have like a midlife crisis, which I hid from the podcast. Sorry, everyone.
I might be one right now.
Yeah. Oh, right. Yeah. Oh, I mean, it's like, when does it end? But I do think I have sensitive brain chemistry, you know, and it's only been confirmed that I'm on the Zoloft has only confirmed that. So it's like, why am I going to throw a monkey wrench in there and be up and down when I know that I can't handle it?
When you should only just like kind of stick to the Zoloft. That's how I've always thought. But then, you know, because there are times where like, but when I was doing drugs or drinking, I'm like, why does it feel like it affects me more?
Right.
Because I'm like this, I feel like all my other friends are doing the same amount, if not more, and they're fine. They're showing up to work. Yeah. And they're doing this. And I'm like this, I can't function.
That's how I felt at Skankfest, actually. That's how I felt at Skankfest, where I was like, I just know for myself, you know, I had really great shows at Skankfest this year, and I had such a pleasure performing, and like the crowds were lovely. There were some lady journeyers there, thank you. You guys are so freaking awesome. And I had the best sets that I've ever had there. number one, I do think they're going more mainstream. So it's like I see a lot more women in the audience, which is cool.
Joe said he noticed that, and I was like, oh, that's a good sign.
It's a good sign, and I think that was part of it. But also, I was like, I felt such a great feeling being like, I'm performing at a high level, and I know that if I had anything to do with any drugs or alcohol this weekend, I would be just gritting my teeth and getting through it. And it's like, what's even the point then?
It's not enjoyable when you're like, oh, I have to go to this. Where you're like, no, that. When you're having to say I have to go to this when that's the only thing that you actually have to do, and that's why you're there.
Yeah, you're like oh, can I do 6 minutes? It's like you flew across the country. I saw this TikTok clip, and I have heard this actually a lot, and it's like a great inspiration for people to be sober. Even though they haven't had a rock bottom, it's like I've heard people be like, when I drink alcohol, when I do drugs, I wake up and I'm not 100%, and I'm like living my best life when I'm getting up and doing 100% every day. Especially in situations where it's like you're performing, or like situations like this where it's like
we have to show up for a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I
want to
be my best self, and I want to feel good. I want to be like gritting my teeth, getting through Lady Journey. Like this is my fun thing that I get to do.
Which is it's life stuff.
It's life stuff. Yeah, it's like
they were saying. And when I say they, TikTok.
Yeah, of course.
But I actually do agree with it. There's just like a lot of talks lately about how we're going to look back on alcohol and see that it was just as bad, if not worse, than cigarettes.
Yeah.
And I do have a theory about a lot of all the personality disorders and shit that we're dealing with. It's just actually generational trauma of people dealing with drug and alcohol abuse in America. That's never, because it's so weird. Like other countries don't drink and party the way we do. And I think even Malcolm Gladwell had a whole on the Talking to Strangers book, the segment of like, what is, because it was dealing with rape culture.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Which was so fascinating, where they're like, there was a tribe in South America that they, on a Sunday night or something crazy, drink pretty heavy liquor. And it's more of for some reason, they have a spiritual thing with it. And it's not like this weird thing that we do. I don't know not that he was saying that, I don't know what he was ultimately getting at, but it just.
Check the source. Check the source. Don't listen to us.
It was just
This is for entertainment purposes only.
My theory about like why there's a lot of fucked upness here.
Yes, and you invite that when you are participating in heavy substance use, and it's like nobody deserves to be violated in any way. But I do think back about that. I was telling my therapist about my choice to remain sober at this festival, and she was like, and like, when you're drinking, you could like put yourself into a bad situation. I was like, that didn't even occur to me because it's such
the time.
Yeah, it's
I
like,
was always at like, I don't know how I got to this house.
Oh yeah, like blacking out in a cab, like, and I think it's the same, And again, like, my issue was more, I guess, marijuana, because I know that alcohol is like, I was scared from it at an early age, but like, even when you're clouding your judgment like that.
Well, yeah. I mean, I've smoked weed. I'm fucked up.
Yeah, it's never been fun for me at a party even, so I was like somebody that would like smoke weed in private a lot, and just be like isolating myself. But another TikTok tip that I wanted to make sure to get in here about alcohol, I saw this, it said like, even if you're somebody that has like a couple drinks a week regularly, you are elevating your cortisol levels so much that it's like you're not having a normal brain pattern. Like you're not
sleeping properly.
Yeah, you're not having stable. So, that reason alone. And I think, I don't know, maybe my journey is more to lady journey. Maybe my journey is more to like really like slowly taper off and do this kind of like warm turkey thing where it's like every time I'm going through this, I'm getting through another layer of like really saying no.
What is this? Am I enjoying it? And is it bringing fulfillment to my life?
Exactly.
You do that. I do that with like relationships like a decluttering of like, is this person really bringing value to my life, like emotional value?
Yeah.
Like, yeah. When I leave, am I feeling good?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It's so tricky to do that because, there's like fear in change. There's fear in change. I'll say it. I'll say it. And yeah, I don't know. There is also like, I guess, did I talk about the warm turkey concept? Because my therapist had mentioned that to me, where it's like, you kind of go taper off. But yeah, it's like, I did have a glass of wine last week. I had dinner with Mike. We went for pizza. I had one glass. It was great. I enjoyed it. I savored it. It was a big glass. I will say that. But I set the intention of like one glass, but I'm not just, but also like filling up my life with other things that really help de-stress me. Like, I love getting a massage. Yes, it's expensive, but it's not as expensive as like getting hammered.
A glass of wine these days is $25.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know. It's an interesting time, but I'm loving like being around other sober people, other sober comedians. I'm loving being around sober culture. And if I had to choose to hang out with like sober people or, you know, be hanging out with people that were like drinking and doing drugs and stuff, I'm just so far over on the other side now.
Right.
And there's nothing, I don't judge people that drink. I don't judge people that go through that. It's just like, I'm talking about what's like resonating with me and what I'm comfortable with. And I'm just finding like a lot of joy in being super present and being with other people and connecting in a sober way.
Yes. Well, yeah, I just enjoy that I can show up. Not everything's a chore to me now.
Yeah.
So it takes out a lot of the stress in your life, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, but I think that your sobriety is always like an inspiration to me because, you know, you're like a fun person to be around.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. And I used to smoke like a lot of pot in high school. I remember I was like really into like experimenting with drugs. And I remember thinking like, you know, when you are that deep in it, you get to a point when it's like, how will I ever be able to have fun?
Right.
In your life
like,
as a sober person? How will I laugh without...
Because it gets you out of... drops your inhibitions, which always feels helpful when you're trying to be fun.
Yes.
But you get over it. I just try to hang out with people that make me feel fun.
Yes. Yeah.
There are people that don't make me feel fun.
Yeah. It's like, of course I'm inhibited. Like, it's you. You're a judgmental asshole.
Right. If I do a joke and they're like, how so?
Yeah. You're like, okay, now I'm shooting up. I'm shooting up now to handle you. But that's the thing I love about like, with the Zoloft, with my new mental perspective and with like being sober around people, it's like, oh, you're an asshole. Like, goodbye. Like, thank you. Next, I'm going to go with somebody else that I will spend my time around.
Yeah, I'm tired of like preening.
Yes.
For them.
I won't peacock for you, sir or madam. But we have to.
Yeah. I mean, I've talked about that with like, I was talking about that with Big J recently about you want to get on some of these bigger podcasts. Like, I think about Joe Rogan. Like,
oh, sure.
I'd love to.
Yeah.
But I also feel like I don't feel like we would mesh.
Yeah.
So why would I do a podcast that wouldn't make me shine?
Exactly. It's like, go where you're wanted. Go where you're wanted. And weed does not want me anymore. And I do have to cut us off. I'm sorry this is such a short episode, everybody, but we are fully back. We're taking a short hiatus for our rebrand, and we'll be back to you for season 4. Can't believe it. Come to our live show, November 11th, The Grove.
The Comedy Fest, New York Comedy Fest.
Yes. And Sarah, thanks.
Thanks, Katie.
Lady thanks, Journey. Katie. I love our awkward outros now. And good day.
And we're done.
Like and subscribe.